You give the perfect pitch. I mean, you hit every single point, right?
Yeah.
You explain every detail, every cool tool, every part of the plan.
Oh, yeah. You are just on fire.
Exactly. And the client is sitting right across from you. They are nodding along. They even say those magic words, like, wow, that sounds great. Let me think about it.
Which always feels like a win in the moment.
Right. You feel great.
Yeah.
But then crickets, you send a quick email, nothing. You leave a voicemail, nothing. You are just completely, utterly ghosted.
It is the worst. I mean, it is the silent killer of deals.
Right.
It is probably one of the most maddening things in sales.
It really is. It eats at you.
Because you walk away feeling like you nailed it. The energy felt good in the room. But the harsh truth is, well, the deal was dead before you even packed up your laptop.
That is exactly what we are getting into today. Because if the deal dies while everyone in the room is still smiling and nodding, we have to look at what is actually happening inside the buyer's head.
Right. What is going on behind their eyes while you are talking?
Exactly. Today, we are taking a deep dive into the hidden mindset of sales talks. We are looking at why listing out these amazing product features often loses you the deal.
It is a massive trap.
It is. So our mission today is to figure out the daily habits and the mental shifts that top earners use to make any buyer feel deeply understood. Because ghosting is just the worst feeling.
It really hurts, especially when you have manager expectations breathing down your neck and you need that target.
Yes. You are looking at your pipeline, thinking this deal is a lock, and then they just vanish.
Well, we're going to explore why the phrase that closes the most deals is almost never printed in a product brochure.
I love that.
The fix for ghosting is rarely about having a better product or even a cheaper price. It means changing how the human brain takes in what you're saying during a pitch.
So let's look at that. Let's talk about the brain, because the brain has this very strict silent filter. Like, what is going on up there when a client makes eye contact and smiles, but mentally they are already out the door?
All right, it comes down to this deep survival trait. The human brain gets hit with a huge amount of noise and facts every single second.
It's a total flood of it.
Exactly. And if it tried to process all of that equally, it would just break. It would melt down.
Right.
So to stop that from happening, the brain constantly filters things out. It runs this background check, basically asking one simple question over and over. Does this matter to me?
Does this matter to me? Wow. It is just a ruthless engine.
Completely ruthless.
It only burns energy on things that directly impact its own comfort or survival.
And that right there is the core disconnect in sales. Because features like the specs, the pure facts about what you are selling, they only answer the question, what is this?
Okay, I see where this is going.
But the buyer's brain is silently begging for the answer to, what does this mean for me? And when those two questions do not match up, the brain just stops spending energy on the talk.
So buyer just checks out.
Yeah, they check out entirely. Their head keeps nodding because, well, social norms mean we have to act polite in the meeting. We don't just stand up and walk out of a boring room.
Right, you don't just yawn and leave.
Exactly. But the actual mental focus, the energy needed to make a real choice to buy, that is totally gone.
I mean, I see this all the time outside of a sales call, too. Like, think about going to a car lot.
Oh, that is a perfect example.
Right. The car rep is walking around super pumped, reading off the engine torque specs and the airflow design.
While you were just standing there thinking about your daily life.
Exactly. All I really want to know is if the back seat safely fits 3 car seats. And maybe if the trunk can hold a giant stroller.
Right.
The specs he's sharing are true. They are facts. They might cost billions of dollars to design.
But they do not touch my daily life. The personal link is 0. So my brain just tunes it out as background noise.
Yep, it is just static to you. When the what is this fails to translate into what this means for me, the deal is on life support. And we have all seen the hidden signs of this dying deal, right? Like, it rarely looks like a fight.
No, almost never.
It looks like this sudden, chilling politeness. It is when the buyer just repeats your own words back to you, but they do not add any of their own detail.
That's a huge red flag.
Or they stop asking follow-up questions entirely. Then they drop that classic line, I need to loop in a boss on this, and then they just fade away.
Which brings up a really weird fact about how buyers act. The people who ask the fewest questions during a pitch are often the hardest ones to close.
Wait, really? Because that feels totally backwards when you're in the room.
I know, it really does.
Like, if there are no questions, it feels like a super smooth meeting. You just assume they get it, they love it, and you have no roadblocks in the way.
Smooth meetings are usually a total trap. I mean, think about it. If there are no questions, there is no mental friction.
Okay, what do you mean by friction?
Well, if a buyer is seriously thinking about buying a complex tool, they have to figure out how it fits into their messy, real life.
Right, they have to actually picture using it.
Exactly. And that causes friction. They should be asking about setup hurdles or weird edge cases or how it might break their current workflow.
Ah, so if they are not asking that stuff.
If they're not asking questions, they have not found the personal link yet. They're not trying to fit your tool into their world because they have already quietly decided they are not going to buy it.
Wow, they're just being polite until the clock runs out.
Exactly. You were just running out the clock.
So if the penalty for just listing facts is this bad, and most of us generally know we should not just read a brochure out loud, why do so many smart reps still fall into this trap?
It is a great question. Because there's a huge gap between knowing better and actually doing better.
Right, especially when the pressure is on.
That is exactly it. Under pressure, reps fall into this trap because they lack a solid system to translate facts into real meaning. When human beings are stressed out, we just default to what we know best.
And for a sales rep, what they know best is the product.
Exactly. They spend hours in training. They know every button. So to stop doing that, top earners rely on a very simple translation flow. It is called the FAB formula.
FAB, feature, advantage, benefit. Let's break down why this flow works so well.
Okay, so the feature is just a general fact. It is completely true no matter who is in the room.
Like a speck on a sheet.
Right. Then the advantage is what that fact generally does out in the world.
Okay.
But the benefit, that is the gold. The benefit is what it means exactly for the unique human sitting right in front of you.
That makes sense.
The tragedy of most pitches is that reps just stop at step one. They drop the raw feature on the table, and they just expect the buyer to do all the heavy mental lifting.
And the buyer just won't do that math for you.
Never.
Like, if they have to burn their own brain power to figure out why your tool matters to their exact team, they will just default to doing nothing. It is safer to do nothing.
Yes. You see this when you look at how people talk. When a seller actively echoes the buyer's own words back to them, trust goes way up.
It is like speaking their native language.
Exactly. When you mirror someone's words, you tell their brain that you are on their side. You lower their mental load because they do not have to translate your corporate jargon into their own daily words.
So taking the raw feature and then wrapping it in the exact words that the buyer used like 5 minutes ago, that changes everything.
It completely shifts the value. People judge the exact same set of facts totally differently based on how they are framed.
Really? Even if the facts are the exact same?
Yes, when facts are framed around personal outcomes, the value shoots up. Even if the product is identical to the other guys, the frame changes the reality for the buyer.
So the value isn't just in the product itself. The value is built by the framing.
Exactly. Buyers trust reps who translate tech details into outcome words so much more. Being clear often beats having a slightly better product, especially when the specs are basically the same on paper.
Let's make this real. Let's look at what this translation actually sounds like on a call. So imagine you are selling B2B software, and the feature is a real-time data refresh.
Right. Most reps just stop right there. They put real-time data refresh on a slide, they read it out loud, and they wait for the client to clap.
Yeah, which never happens.
No. So the translation, moving to the benefit, means you have to connect that fact to the human being.
Okay, so how do you say it?
You would look at them and say, this means your team stops spending their Friday afternoons doing manual reports.
Oh, wow. Yeah. If you say that to a manager who is just sick of watching their team burn out on desk work, you suddenly have their complete focus.
Totally.
Getting Friday afternoons back is a massive real benefit. The feature is the same, but the feeling is completely different.
Exactly. It hits them right in the chest.
So how does this apply to something harder, like heavy factory gear?
Okay, so the feature might be a 20% lower maintenance cycle.
Right, which is just a line on a tech sheet.
Exactly.
All right.
But to translate that for a stressed factory boss, you would say, this means fewer sudden stops on your exact product line.
You are hitting the exact nightmare that keeps that guy awake at night.
Yes. The engineering fact did not change at all. But the translation made it something he just has to have.
Okay, I have to push back on this a little bit.
Go for it.
Especially when it comes to really complex, tech-heavy sales. Because this whole translation thing sounds a little bit like a soft skill. Or maybe even dressing up the truth a bit.
I hear that a lot.
Like if I am selling a huge $1 million tech setup to a chief tech officer, That guy just wants the hard facts to make a cold, clear choice, right? He does not want fluffy benefit words. He just wants the code details and the safety rules.
That is a very normal worry. But the reality of modern big deals completely flips that idea on its head. In highly complex, deep tech sales, benefit translation is actually way more vital, not less.
That feels weird. Why would a highly tech-savvy buyer need more translation than a normal person?
First, we have to clear up that this is never a trick or help tactic.
Right.
It is precise, honest framing. You are not making up an outcome.
Right, you were just linking it to reality.
Yes, connecting a real feature to a real-world result for that user. Now, for the tech boss, the CTO in your example, we have to look at the room they work in. Modern groups rarely rely on one single person for huge choices.
There is always a buying group, a whole team.
Always. So that tech boss you are pitching to, eventually they have to turn around and justify this massive spend to a money boss, like a CFO or the CEO.
And those guys do not speak code.
Exactly. They do not speak the tech language at all. They do not care about data nodes.
So if I just hand the tech boss a list of deep tech specs, I am actually making his job so much harder.
You really are. Because now he has to go figure out how to translate your specs into a business case for his boss.
Oh, wow. I am making him do my job.
Exactly. But providing them with ready-made, simple benefit words equips them to go sell internally for you. You are handing your internal champion the exact script they need to go get the budget signed.
That makes total sense.
Right. A tech boss cannot walk into the money boss's office and ask for $2 million because the new software has background data flow.
The money guy would just laugh him out of the room.
He has to say, this software cuts our client churn by 4% because it stops our checkout page from crashing during the holiday rush. That is a real benefit.
You are arming them for the internal fights they have to face when you are not in the room.
You have to. And we also really need to kill this myth that more features make a stronger pitch.
Oh, I see this all the time. Sellers think that listing 20 features proves their product is better than the guy who only lists 5.
But it doesn't. Flooding buyers with tech details just leads to less confidence and massive brain fatigue.
They just get tired.
Yeah, people forget almost all the tech details within a day of the meeting. What they remember is the personal, daily outcome you promised.
This reminds me of this story I heard about a rep named Michael. He was this young, super smart rep selling workflow tech.
Right.
And he knew the product completely cold. He understood every link, every background flow, every tiny detail. He was like a walking book for the software.
I know so many reps exactly like that.
Right. But his sales numbers were just painfully stuck right in the middle of the pack. He was always losing deals to reps who actually knew way less about the deep tech than he did.
Which has to be so frustrating for him.
Oh, totally. Michael was using specs to prove how smart he was. He thought his main job was to be the smartest guy in the room when it came to the tech.
And that is the trap.
But then he had this huge breakthrough. He went on a ride-along with a senior rep. He watched her work, and he noticed she spent the first 15 minutes of the call just asking the buyer about their daily headaches.
Just listening to them complain.
Yes. She barely brought up the software at all. And when she finally did pivot to explain a certain feature, she used the buyer's exact words to describe it.
That is the magic trick right there.
It totally shifted Michael's mindset. He realized he was talking just to prove he was smart, while the senior rep was talking to prove she understood the buyer.
What a massive change in focus.
Right. So once Michael changed his style-taking time to map out that FAB flow before calls and really focusing on echoing the client's words, his close rate just shot up. He stopped being a human brochure and he became a translator.
That is exactly it. You have to translate. But if we know we need to translate, there is a very real hurdle here, especially for anyone new to a role.
Yeah, it can be scary.
Like, if you do not know the buyer well enough yet to know what their deep personal benefits should be, how do you avoid just making a wild guess and totally missing the mark?
Guessing is so dangerous because assuming you know someone's pain often just breeds anger. It feels bossy.
It does. And that fear of guessing is exactly why the best sales pros rely on very strict daily habits before they ever start presenting. They do not guess the benefit, they pull the answer straight from the buyer.
So let's lay out the actual playbook for this. What are the clear steps a seller needs to take to do this translation thing every single time?
Okay, the very first step is to ask one solid, open-ended question before any feature talk happens.
Before you even open the slide deck.
Exactly. You just ask something like, what does a good outcome look like for you this quarter? Or what is the single biggest bottleneck in your daily work right now?
You are basically asking them to hand you the answer key before you take the test.
Yes. Then comes the prep work, which is where the real habit lives. Before the call, you physically write down the top 3 features you plan to mention.
Write them down on paper.
On paper, on a screen, whatever, just map it out. Next to each feature, write out the advantage and then the benefit for that exact buyer, based totally on what they told you. You do this before you ever open your mouth to pitch.
Taking the time to actually write it down forces you off of autopilot. It stops you from just giving the exact same generic pitch you gave to the last 5 guys.
Exactly. It breaks the cycle. And then during the call itself, there's this great structural trick. It acts like a forcing function.
Oh, I love forcing functions. What is it?
You commit to swapping out the phrase "our product" with the phrase "this means for you" at least 3 times during the talk.
This means for you. That is brilliant. It acts like the bumper rails at a bowling alley.
It really does.
Because it physically stops you from tossing out a naked spec. Like, grammatically, you just cannot follow that phrase with a raw feature. You cannot say, real-time data refresh, this means for you, code link.
No, it sounds completely broken.
Right. You are forced to say, real-time data refresh, this means for you, no more manual reporting on Friday afternoons. It literally forces the translation.
And when you pair that bumper rail with the habit of echoing the buyer's exact words back to them, you create this deeply persuasive space.
I have to say, actively mirroring the buyer's words also seems like the perfect cure for imposter syndrome, especially for newer reps.
Oh, absolutely. It takes so much weight off your shoulders.
Because I remember starting out in complex sales and feeling this huge pressure to sound incredibly slick and bossy and smart.
Like you had to know everything.
Exactly. But if your entire goal is just to mirror, you do not have to invent the perfect pitch words from scratch. You are just using the brilliant script the buyer already handed to you. It takes away the pressure of having to sound like a genius.
It is a massive relief for anyone dealing with call reluctance. Your job is no longer to be a wizard of words. Your job is just to be a master of listening and echoing.
So how does this flow apply to the most high-pressure part of the talk? The close. When it is time to actually ask for the business and show the price, how do we use this translation?
Okay, so the closing tactic is all about anchoring the decision. Right before you show the price, or the final proposal, you restate the single biggest benefit in the buyer's own words.
Okay, so you don't just drop the number.
Never just drop the number, because human choices are heavily anchored to whatever was emphasized most recently. You never want to end your pitch on a list of features and then drop the price.
Because then they are weighing the money against a list of boring specs.
Exactly. You want to end on a vivid picture of their transformed life using their own words, and then you show the price. The price is now anchored to their relief, not to your software.
That makes total sense. But building this into a permanent habit requires a lot of reps, like actual practice.
It does. It is a muscle.
There was this great story I heard about a sales manager named Jennifer who had to rebuild her whole team's approach to this.
Oh, I love this story.
Right. So Jennifer's team had just hit a wall. They were making all their calls, hitting their daily numbers, but deals were just stalling out left and right.
Which is the worst feeling for a manager. Activity is high, but revenue is flat.
Exactly. So she sat down and listened to their call recordings, and she found the problem right away. They were just reading the training manual out loud.
Yep, human brochures.
They were walking through features in this very logical order, but it was totally disconnected from the emotional reality of the person on the other end of the phone.
So how did she fix it?
She set up a very simple 15-minute weekly session. That is it. Just 15 minutes. The team would bring actual features they had pitched that week, and as a group, they would rewrite them into FAB language: feature, advantage, benefit.
Just drilling the translation until it became muscle memory.
Exactly. And the results were crazy. Call scores got better, client focus went up, and most of all, rep confidence just soared. They stopped reading scripts and started doing real dynamic translation. They learned how to think on their feet.
That is the dream. So what is the core mental shift that needs to happen for someone listening right now to start doing this today?
I think it comes down to 2 major shifts.
Okay.
The first one is moving away from the thought, I need to prove I know this product, and moving toward, I need to show I understand this buyer.
That changes your whole vibe in a room.
It totally changes your posture. You stop presenting and you start digging.
And what is the second shift?
The second one is moving away from the whole concept of selling. Just drop it entirely and move toward the concept of translating. You are not a seller anymore. You are a translator standing between a highly complex tech tool and a deeply human problem.
Wow. Showing you get the buyer really is the heart of all influence. And building this skill is not an overnight hack. It is something that builds up over time.
Right. 6 months of really practicing the FAB flow and focusing on translation does way more than just bump up your quarterly numbers.
It changes how you talk.
It builds a permanent personal library in your brain of real-world words, stories, and connections. Over time, finding that hidden benefit just becomes second nature. You start doing it naturally in every single talk you have.
It is about small, daily choices of awareness, taking that extra 10 seconds to turn raw facts into deep meaning.
And that brings us right back to where we started today, that flawless pitch, the polite nods, the sudden ghosting.
The deals were dying because we were just looking at the wrong things.
Exactly. We were totally focused on the product specs when we needed to be focused on the buyer's real world.
When you realize that the buyer's silence is just a lack of personal meaning, ghosting stops being this scary mystery. It becomes a solvable problem. It just requires the self-control to stop talking about yourself and start translating for them.
Beautifully said. So as we wrap up our deep dive today, I want to leave you with one final deep thought to chew on.
Let's hear it.
If the most powerful tool in sales is simply reflecting a person's reality back to them in a way that makes them feel deeply seen, how might you apply this translation mindset outside of your career? The next time you're trying to convince a friend, a partner, or a boss of something important, just ask yourself, am I pitching them my features, or am I taking the time to translate why it matters to their world?
These thoughts, these questions, they don't have to stop here. Sales Geeks has many more podcasts and videos just like this one. Subscribe to the channel and explore other episodes. They all flow the same honest way. If this podcast felt genuinely useful to you, share it with even one person in your life. That one share can bring a real change in someone's life and help Sales Geeks reach more people who truly need this. If this brought you real value, look for the Join button right next to the Sales Geeks logo below this video. Click it and become a member of the Sales Support Circle. Your support helps honest sales awareness reach thousands who are silently struggling. Sales Geeks moves forward because of you. Thank you so much from the heart for being here.